So, hi guys, Sanket and Ayush as usual. But today, we have our professor, Himadri Roy, and he's teaching. He's in the School of Gender and Development Studies in Indira Gandhi National Open University in Delhi. And he's the best person who can introduce himself properly. Sir, over to you.
I don't know how to introduce myself over here, but as far as basically professional identity goes, I am the director with the School of Gender and Development Studies, and my expertise is LGBT studies, especially focusing on cinema, which we call queer cinema, quote unquote queer cinema, and other forms of media, and literature, because I come from English literature background, so literature is always my passion. As well as I have wrote 2 books on queer issues, and my novels are here. 2 novels are already in the market, and the third is on the pipeline. Anytime it will come out this year. And basically, like, I have been teaching for more than what you can see these host ages are. I have been teaching for last 24 years, and and I have been teaching LGBT studies for almost more than 16 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes, sir. So my first question to you will be.
Wait, Ayush, let me just, let people know what exactly our more objective with the with today's podcast is.
I was getting to that only.
Okay, all right.
So as you guys know, it is the Pride Month, and I feel although we have, as sir said, and as sir will be telling us how we have progressed as a community to accepting the LGBTQ plus people and all that, I still feel there's a lot of awareness needed about this whole thing. So that's why this is a thing. This is basically on Pride Month, knowing what people from this community go through, knowing for some people actually just to knowing that they're just like us, because as sir might be knowing, generally in movies and in various cultural depictions as we see them, it's a very stereotypically they're presented. In at least they have been presented, although it is changing now. They have been presented. So yeah, the basic essence of the basic aim of this podcast is to know and let's have a fun conversation with sir. So sir, I would jump right into it. First of all, tell me about the day. And I don't know your age, so I don't know how many years back this is. If you want to reveal it, it's entirely on you.
See,
yeah.
On the western part of the revolution, queer activism or queer revolution, you can call LGBT revolution, it had been the Stonewall riot was the most important riot that has ever happened in the history.
1969.
That was back in June 28th, 1969.
Yes.
Now, this year is not only for the rights, it's symbolical. This is symbolical for other purposes also. One of the purposes is, of course, the LGBT rights. The other purpose is in this year itself, there were few other sampling across India was also going on. Yeah. Reasoning, like the first Doordarshan came out with news, what you call news anchoring in English.
Okay.
That was the first news anchor that happened in 1969. Before that, it was all in Hindi. Now, other important fact besides media, these are all generic things. But when I was talking about Stonewall riot, it was important because in June 28th was the day when the gay bar, so-called the gay bar, which was in the Greenwich Village of New York City, that had been raided by the police during that period, and lots of people who were partying that time. It was so-called all men's party, and it was raided by the police, and all of them had been taken because of several reasoning. The police went violent, and lots of other things issued up, and those 5 days were tremendous for the impact in the all across US.
Okay.
Now, this is the time when the third wave feminism was also coming up.
Okay, interesting.
Third wave feminism talks about post-colonialism, post-modernism, and lots of other things. In our country, the first wave feminism you can talk about, or the second wave feminism after the independence it came up. So that was very important in this context because after the China war, India became such a vulnerable position to talk about women's rights. And therefore, women's rights became very, this was the year when the women's rights was introduced in the parliament. So that is why I said this year is very important in the significance, not only of LGBT people, but also all minorities across the world. The Bill of Christian Marriage Act was also introduced, amendment for the Christian Marriage Act was also introduced, Special Marriage Act was also introduced during this period only.
Okay.
Apart from the Stonewall riot, if you consider only the because it is a Pride Month and all across the world people are talking about LGBT people, what becomes important in Indian context is India was thinking to introduce something for what you call the visible community of the queer people or the LGBT people, that is the transgender people. Something, I don't know what social reforms, what policy, nothing was, they were thinking about it. By the time they introduced, it was already the emergency came up and in the 70s, and then gradually the 80s came up.
Okay.
So that historically, if you see, the first introduction of the LGBT word came in 1989, after almost 20 years later, when the NAP, National AIDS Program, was introduced into the passed through the parliament. And then an organization or a program was introduced under the Ministry of Health. Mohsina Kidwai, during that time, the health minister introduced this program. And that is the year when, 1989 is the year when the word transgender was introduced. And the word MSM was introduced. Men having sex with men. MSM is men having sex with men. The AIDS program getting introduced to the platform of the country, when the country is undergoing riots for quotas and reservation quotas was also being fought during that period itself. Like the SC/ST bill, the Mandal Commission also came during that. Now, as soon as the turn of this decade happened, the globalization entered India. As globalization entered India, foreign funds started flowing inside the country under UN AIDS program. UN HRC's program, like Human Rights Commission's programs were introduced to India. So mushrooming, I would not say, the birth of two important NGOs, you can call, who work for these communities came up. One was Hum Safar Trust, the other one was NAS Foundation.
So can you repeat the first thing? I didn't get it. The first thing I didn't get.
Hum Safar Trust. The first one was Hum Safar Trust in Bombay. And the second one was NAS Foundation India, that was in Delhi. Now, these two organizations started working for the MSM and the transgender group. That's how the movement started. There was also simultaneously there are lots of other histories I would talk about this movement. So what happened during the AIDS program? AIDS program gradually got into a proper organization by the help of the ministry and the Ministry of Finance. Both of them organized one important organization, which was called National AIDS Control Organization. National AIDS Control Organization, NACO, which is called NACO, started having all across the states different setups to start awareness and sensitization about what is HIV, what is AIDS, and everything. Now, these sounds very simple for most of us. Those who do not know, most of the normative society will think that these are, this is a health program that has been issued. But behind this, there are many things that the LGBT people had to face. One was, I'll quote unquote, from one of the talk shows of the your national prime time program news channel. The talk show program says that this was considered to be a gay disease. It was only considered that HIV would spread only through anal sex and only amongst gay men. So MSM people especially becomes more vulnerable, and transgender people will become more vulnerable. But the real reason or the scientific reason was not that. All of us today, sitting after almost 30 years later, 40 or 35 years later, we come to know that several decades later, we come to know that no, HIV does not come like this. HIV comes this way. We are aware of it. But during that period, the LGBT people had to face this, what you called AIDS phobia.
Okay.
Now, AIDS phobia was the first one to begin. And imagine a globalization entering the country where people are moving towards the big cities for job opportunities, for economic opportunities. They're moving towards the big cities, especially Delhi, especially Bombay, and gradually towards Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune. These are the few places where the people were flocking for jobs and everything. I would consider Delhi and Bombay the most.
Correct.
Yeah,
Why?
correct.
Because they got lots of opportunities over here, so people were moving over here.
Yeah.
Now, if you see the history, probably if you don't know, people who have not seen that, that was the period when the BPO industry has begun. The BPO industry means what you called in simple term call centers began functioning. Now, call centers are very interesting. What happened was that their functioning was only for the US or the European people. So therefore, the clientele that they work with was always in the night shift. People who went over there for the jobs had to leave the houses in the evening and come back in the early morning. So you can see the social impact of it. First of all, you don't need to be highly educated. You have to know how to speak English. You will be later on trained how to do the other activities or other protocols of the organization. Secondly, it was like all of a sudden you get lots of money. Just being +2 in your qualification, you are having lots of money. So once you get lots of money, the economic upsurge or the expenses of consumerism, what we call consumer market, also increases. And this makes things more accessible to you. The dissemination of the knowledge of things happening with you, like the AIDS phobia and all those, did not matter much. But mixing with other forms of people, other types of people, especially big cities, what happened is this whole area of NCR coming up, what we today call NCT, National Capital Territory. So these areas, we're also talking about lots of young people, young mind, young what you call millennial crowd or the Zen crowd was flocking into. Now, when they flock, things start unraveling. People got access to technology, and therefore IT technology, information technology became so important, so accessible to people. People started opening email accounts, people started having many things, and therefore the word of Stonewall riot and everything came. People started knowing, acha, there was a riot like this. Only, remember, but only for the literate people who knew how to use computers.
Interesting.
Only for the literate people. You have to be used to computers.
Correct.
Otherwise, how will you know? And second thing, you have to be English speaking person. Right. So this is how the whole movement or activism of the queer community, what you call, began.
Got it.
And they also started celebrating the Pride Month in such a way that the Stonewall riots became very important.
Sorry, I think this was this. I sorry if I have something to add, but I think this was extremely comprehensive. Like I had done some research on my own, but I don't think I need to say anything now. But
Because like,
add one. Yeah, it is.
In this time, if you know, you got the whole bird eye view of the timeline, right? Kya hua, bro? That was.
मतलब पूरा visit कर गया मैं.
Exactly.
And it is interesting because, sir, you must be knowing like that. Actually, the first Pride March in Southeast Asia was held in Kolkata in 1909. So even India, and the interesting fact is, I hope you touch upon this a bit, that the problem with us Indians is that we feel this whole LGBTQ plus is a Western concept. Well, no, actually, the thing is, homophobia is a Western concept, and this existed. If you look at our gods and goddesses, okay, it was very normal for them to for like Shiva to dress up as a female and go. Okay, for even when if I come recently, when the Mughals came in, one of the most important sources of attraction was man to man, and that is how the Mughals and the Hindus mingled. So, sir, I would love if you touch upon that historical part in the Indian context.
Okay, before coming to this, let me put some other factual details to you. Probably you have been born during that period. The turn of the century happened, and one of the important, as Stonewall riot happened, similarly, there was a raid on a NGO, Bharosa Trust in Lucknow. Their head office was in Lucknow. Bharosa Trust worked on the Nas Foundation International Agency. It was the international agency's office over there. And they also did the dissemination of knowledge, dissemination about AIDS and HIV and all those things. Men-to-men sex, and transgender community, their main target group was that. So what happened when it was raided, they found only men over there. And they also found objects, quote unquote, according to the police report, they found objects which are vulgar and illegal, like objects like how to wear a condom. Lots of condoms were there. Then literatures were there, both in Hindi as well as in English. All the material was there because it was UP heartland of the country, so it was obviously Hindi. So that was raided. That became a mark in the history of our Indian LGBT community. After that, 2 years later, one of the major attention that the LGBT community got was the murder of Pushkin Chandra. If you Google, you will come to know the details of it. Pushkin Chandra was murdered in August, same after 2 years, in 2004. That was the year when Nas Foundation thought of filing. Nas Foundation in fact filed a petition against the 377, IPC 377, section 377. Now, very interestingly, when we talk about IPC 377, it is important for us to know what is 377. I'll use the legal language. 377 of the Indian Penal Code is basically unnatural offenses. Now, what is unnatural? According to the law books, whoever, I'm quoting Dito verbatim, whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with any man, woman, or animal shall be punished with imprisonment for life or with imprisonment of either description of for a term which may extend to 10 years or shall be liable also be liable for a fine. Basically, that you cannot have unnatural sex.
That's quite absurd.
Now, very interestingly, when this law was implemented, it was implemented by the British government in 1869. So what happens over here? Till this law, this petition was filed, people didn't know about this law. People started knowing about this law, and gradually, the people who the administration came to know about it, and everyone across the country was harassed by the police everywhere. If you are out for your sexuality or if you're out on your gender identity, you knew how to identify yourself on the sexual orientation or gender identity, people started harassing you. That was the time, that was the period when the whole issue 377 was only for the LGBT community. See, it is talking about unnatural sex with a woman also, a man and a woman, if they have oral sex, not penovaginal sex, but oral sex. It is also unnatural. It should go under 377. But it was
I did not
thought about that.
I mean, see, like when you quoted it, I agree. The animal part. I mean, it's not right? Because like it's a crime. I guess it's still a crime with animals. So I think I agree with that part, but otherwise it's really absurd.
Yeah.
And the whole thing turned out to be only for the LGBT people.
Yeah.
Right.
As you said, it's for the animals also. People in this country have practiced bestiality for a long time, maybe centuries. But over here, very interestingly, we see that it was only the LGBT people who become victims. And therefore, in 2009, 2nd July 2009, the judgment from the Delhi High Court comes and the LGBT community gets decriminalized. That's how things began in this history. Probably then you are aware, you are young people that time, maybe you gradually got back through your television and everything.
Right.
Media across the world was very familiar, Facebook and everything. Today you have Twitter, you have Instagram, everywhere these things have been moving and there are lots of ample history. But as Ayush was talking about, was this the phenomena before the British came?
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about religion, I would not agree on the religious part of it, because what happens in religion is, because if you read Rig Veda, or I would not talk about Shastra, but Rig Veda. In Rig Veda, very interestingly, at a point in one of the shlokas, it mentions that if you think about God, and you think that God exists, then you can find that God in any inanimate object.
Okay.
It can be stone, it can be tree, it can be temple, it can be mosque, it can be air, it can be anything which is inanimate, which does not have any life. So you put life into it by thinking that it's a god.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why you start worshipping it. And if you feel that no, God is present everywhere.
Totemism, sacred.
Totemism. But I would not call totemism over here in India, because in Indian, socio-cultural religious history is very different and very interesting.
Correct.
Yeah. Pre-Vedic interesting history was that before the caste system and all this was introduced, pre-Vedic history was that people who had to live also had to depend on for your food. Not for your shelter. Forget about your shelter. I'm not talking about the primitivism, but for your shelter. I'm not talking about shelter over here, but for the food. Food culture also is very interesting over here. In the north, if you go to the Himalayan region and the sub-Himalayan region, sub-Himalayan territory across the India, from the Kashmir to the Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, and the Himachal Pradesh and the foothills of these Himalayas, you see people living on non-veg a lot. People live on non-veg because that's a demography, that's a geography, that's a anthropomorphology which talks to people, forces people to live that way. If you don't have meat, your body heat will not be produced, so you might die of frostbite, might have died of cold and anything. That was pre-Vedic period. And in the plain, it was only both the things were going, the vegetarians as well as the non-vegetarians. And India was distinctly divided by two cultures. One was the North Indian culture, the other one was South Indian culture. One was the Dravidian. Gradually today we know by the historians that one is called Dravidians, the other one is called Aryans.
Yeah.
Now, both of these, it's that both of their gods and goddesses resemble androgyny in their replicas.
And what's that?
Androgyny is both the bodies, the male and the female together. Duality of existence. If you read the Rig Veda, there is a dualism talking about which is universalism. If around the world anything exists, both the things exist together in your body. Good is also existing, bad is also existing. So duality exists. The masculine is also there, the feminine is also there. And one of them, as Ayush gave an example, that Shiva had been represented that way. So we have Ardhanarishwar, and in the south we have Aravan, the Mohini form, the Krishna's form of that god. Now these two gods are supposed to be androgynous. So we do not represent them as men or female. And very interestingly, in that period, post-Vedic period, when the whole history was talking about which is important god and which is not important god, and the caste system came on the basis of labor, the whole society was divided. So the knowledge went to the Brahmins, the business went to the Vaishyas, the armor and the masculine and the policy making went to the Kshatriyas, and Shudras are left to the petty jobs,
the lower,
jobs, the
mining and scavenging.
And very interestingly, in one of the Peter Mundi's history book, Ancient History, it talks that it is still in the archives, National Archives of India in Delhi. You'll see that it talks about another form of the caste on the basis of labor, that is the transgender people.
Oh, interesting.
Now they were left out. In the post-Vedic period, they were left out. So what will happen to them? Chanakya in his Arthashastra says a part of socio-economic structure also depended on them. So what form of labor should be given to them? What form of labor should be given to them? Everything was taken by these four groups of people. So body, the physical, physiological existence of a certain kind of people needs to be also addressed.
Yeah.
The Chandragupta Maurya's court took up this.
Yeah.
And they thought that, okay, ask them.
Yeah.
Monday is gone to Shiva, Tuesday is gone to Falana god, Wednesday is gone to this god, that god, and all these gods were divided.
Yeah.
All have been divided amongst the people who were not into that group. So one day was left, which was not given or respected or considered to be inauspicious. That was Saturday.
Okay.
And according to the calendar, Saturday happens to be the 6th day of the week.
Yes.
So the word came Chakka.
Got it. Yeah, I saw that
That's
coming.
how the word came Chakka.
That is a very, I didn't know this. It's fascinating for me.
Now what happens is, during this post-Vedic period, when the Chakka terminology was introduced, it was always a transgender, the visibly transgender.
Right.
The visible, like who had intersex, what you call today intersex. Those were there, like, or else transsexual people who were there. But those during those period, obviously transsexual might have been there, but there was no proof of it. Only the intersex existence was there. Now, intersex people gradually, what happened was when Chakka was given, they had to go to every house and ask for begging. They can't take a shloka because it was a part of the Brahmins. They were not allowed to speak a shloka and ask for alms. They can't ask Bhiksha just like that, because previously they will ask Bhiksha through a shloka. If you say a shloka, then only the Bhiksha was given accordingly. What shlokas you can narrate, chants, what.
Yeah, just to cut you in. So basically, what it means was, like when you're saying a shloka, it's something you're doing, it's skill you're doing. So they were not found worthy of any skill. They just had to beg, just so that people will give them money.
So shloka was also told by the hermits, by the saints. They were allowed to speak the shloka, but these people were not allowed to speak shloka. So what they did was, like, if a bhikshu comes to a beggar comes to your home, Alakh Niranjan or whatever, Hari Om or Om Shivaya Nama and all this, they can take some bhiksha and go away. These days, that you come and talk. We have been seeing that. But for them, they developed themselves during that period a clap, which is today called the signature clap of the transgender. That's how it started.
Wow.
That was during the ancient period till the medieval period, and this was common to both North India as well as South India, because Chandragupta Maurya almost occupied the entire country. So he made all these laws across the country. Now, when the Mughal entered, things started changing a bit.
Okay.
So we have the ancient words with kleber, and then the word changed to kinnar. It was a little complex because people were not used to Sanskrit, so they have to use Prakrit. So the word changed to kinnar. Now, only the kinnar and the kleber was existing in that country. When the Muslims invaded the country, or the Middle East people entered the country, there has to be another religion entering the country. It's not only the religion enters, entire structure, socio-cultural structure changes. Now, in that change, what happens is, see, in the medieval history had a very interesting history. Now, what is like many courts, whether it is Bindisar's court, or whether it is Ajatasatru's court, or whether it is Krishna Deva Raya's court, all these courts had one transgender member as a minister. And this transgender used to be the Patrani. If you see the history, Patrani, they were called Patrani because they were below Rani, but they were powerful because they used to control the kitchen, they used to control the other forms of militancy and all those things. There were many things were under there. Different history books talk about different way, and different edicts also has, Ashtokan edicts also, you can see all these things. Now, that Patrani was only very chosen few. Everyone cannot be a Patrani. So only the few chosen ones were there. And below them, there were many other people, many other transgenders were there. So there was a Guru Chela Parampara started. That was one of the Parampara. Even Gayatri Reddy's book talks about that kind of Parampara. But when the Muslim invaded, this Patrani had become a type of harem keeper.
What keeper?
Harem.
What's that?
Harem. whatever. Like harem keeper, HAREM, harem keeper. They call it harem in the Persian word, harem keeper. Now, harem keeper means they used to protect only the queens and they used to protect only the prince. The prince were protected. And the male soldiers were protected. Now, these were the harem keepers that the king had always been introducing. Now, when you see that, it's very interesting. They are introducing certain very, very phenomenal aspects of these transgenders. They were introducing male to female and female to male.
Okay.
Now, male to female, whoever becomes the harem keeper of the queens. And they were called Hijris. And those who kept the prince and the soldiers were called Hijras because they were from female to male. They introduced two genders of the transgender, the Hijras and the Hijris.
Wow, that is very, very fascinating and interesting. Like the clap part, like when we like see on trains, or it's a very normal thing we feel, but it has such a historical reasoning to understand. That is good. So, sir, I think we have dwelled a lot into history. So I would like to get to know about your personal experiences a bit here. So yeah.
I mean, only if you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, only. No, I am comfortable.
Yeah,
everything is in Google.
Yeah. But I wish you share some anecdotes or something which is okay. So I would like to know about the day. I'll dive right into it. The day you opened up to your parents, or was it a day or was it a gradual thing? I would like to know about that. What went through your mind? Because I am sensing that because it is not in the generation, the impact might have been
exactly because like it's right now in the after 2015, I guess people have normalized this.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure it was a taboo back then.
It was a taboo. So it is very interesting to know like how you opened up, maybe some struggles you faced, or maybe you still continue to face. So yeah, would like to know about that.
I don't know, Sanket. I would not say people have normalized. Still, people have not.
Yeah, people haven't.
But like at least our age. I think at least people of our age.
I don't think everyone accepts the other forms of non-normative gender.
I think it's
easy.
I think it's gradual. I think if you
it does not. Coming to my personal experience, it was never like I came out. I was made to come out.
Oh,
okay.
Made to come out in the sense like I had so-called, I would not call a boyfriend then, because I had an infatuation on my senior who was pursuing IIT then. And I was in class 12. He was in IIT. We had been knowing each other for 3-4 years almost. So he used to send me letters. Those days, letter writing in 80s letter writing was one of the passion you wait for, and you wait for your letters coming, answers and all. So that had been waiting, and he sent me a birthday card. Those days, musical cards are like in vogue, sending musical cards, happy birthday or thank you, musical cards. You open them and music starts.
Wow.
Music comes up, a song comes up. Those kind of card he had sent with lots of rose petals in it. And the entire card was decorated with love. Like there's red love symbols, right? And I come from a joint conservative family, Hindu family. So over there, anyone letter comes, everyone picks up and keeps it. Like no one bothers. Like okay, someone the Dakia postman.
The privacy is just out of the way.
Privacy is not there. Privacy is not at all there. It goes for bonkers. So what happens? Though I had a private room, but there's nothing called privacy that anyone can barge into your room anytime.
Thank God for WhatsApp now. Thank God for WhatsApp.
So thank God. So whatever, but I would not thank God, but it's fine. Every era has their own fascination.
True.
Or every era has their own fascination. So what happened is that card went to my Kaka's hand, means Chacha's hand. And Chacha saw love across that. Why is someone, he sensed that probably a girl has sent from Delhi from IIT to, and he was like little happy that he has fallen in love with a girl in IIT. You're not bad. It's like boosting up your masculine ego. Acha, let's see IIT mein padh kiya time. So with excitement, he opened the card and then he saw it. The name is a male's name. Nikhil, his name was. So he wrote Nikhil. And from your loving Nikhil, he wrote. And he wrote a poem also, as usual. Those days, young adolescents, we all do write poems and sing songs, kind of stuff. So he wrote a poem and sent, and my kaka got furious. I wasn't at home that time. Of course, I was in +2 after my board got over. My birthday comes during this June month only. So the board got over. I had nothing to do. I was like vagabond, moving around here and there, enjoying. And I come from Siliguri, which is in the foothills of Darjeeling. So I come from a beautiful place.
Lovely place.
Lovely place. So that day we went to some place and enjoying swimming and all those things and came back. In the night when we sat down on the dining table, we had my grandfather made it a mandatory for all the family members to sit together and have dinner. Whether you have lunch or breakfast together doesn't matter, but dinner should be together, all of us. So over there I sat down and my kaka told that, what is this? Who is this guy? How can you fall in love with the guy? And that's how probably the coming out happened in my family. And it was not always like how it was taken. The whole issue was not taken up that way, the way we think. It is obviously, as expected, the normative reaction of the family. People were against it. Ye ho nahi sakta. And some said, oh, he comes from all male school, so probably all boys school, so hota hai, pyar ho jata hai, ye age hai, then bada ho jayega, college jana shuru karega, to ladki se pyar ho hi jayegi. Don't bother, don't think. People want to pass it, but some people are serious in the family. No, aisa kaise hua, aisa kaise hoga. All this kind of thing. Before that, there were other rappers in my personal life, like I didn't want to study science, I wanted to study arts because I wanted to do geography or English literature, which they didn't allow. नहीं हमारे घर पे लड़के ये नहीं पढ़ते तो सिर्फ लड़कियों का सब्जेक्ट है, blah 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 blah. And so that was the one battle I fought. The second battle came up. This was like, that was a hard time. That was literally a hard time. Imagine the Holi before that. June is like fine. The Holi before that was like the holy month. Everyone is playing. We all children played and we enjoyed. So in June, when this thing comes out, the whole family's reaction was all against me, except of course my father, my mother, and my brother.
Wow, that is the most important.
All of the family, the extended family was against it. My mother says, no, my child is not abnormal, my child is not unnatural, he is natural and all those things. It's fine, he loves him. I was like little rebel. Everyone happens. I think you also rebel with your parents. You don't agree on their whatever they say. So I also rebelled. I also said कि आप लोग सब प्यार करके शादी कर रहे हो तो मैं क्यों नहीं प्यार कर सकता? नहीं, ये लड़का है, लड़का से प्यार होता नहीं. एक लड़का से कैसे प्यार करता? I said no. प्यार तो प्यार होता है. आप थोड़ी देखी होगी दादी कौन सा. मैं दादाजी got love का marriage, social marriage, arranged marriage, what you call. My father also did that. My uncle, Chacha also did that. Everyone in the family was जिससे भी प्यार करो तो शादी कर सकते हो. So I said that. My Dadaji thought a little bit. I think this guy is intelligent. He knows how to deal with things. But he didn't say anything. He was not against it or he was not for it. Then when my mom supported, my mom in front of everyone said, no problem. I am with you. I know the whole world will turn against you. I'm with you. In the night,
that is
my dad came. My dad said only a simple sentence. I still remember that. He said, anyone in this world is known by the profession they do with. No one says a gay professor or a gay doctor or a gay engineer. Everyone says engineer. Everyone says a teacher. Everyone says a professor. Everyone says a doctor. No one says a gay doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
रिक्शा वाला को भी रिक्शा वाला ही बोलते हो, सब्जी वाला को सब्जी वाला ही बोलते हो, बोलते नहीं कि गे सब्जी वाला, कोई नहीं कहता, या lesbian दुकानदार, lesbian beauty parlor. No one says like that. No one. So that was my dad's thing. So you create a profession where people will not talk about your sexual life. That was when I got my courage. That's how the whole coming out issues happened. My brother was like, ठीक है तू प्यार करता है मगर मेरे दोस्तों से प्यार मत कर. मेरे दोस्तों पे कोई. That was his positiveness. But like that.
So a question related to this: do you think we as a society, we have repressed sex so much that we have made it so important to include it in everything we want, right? Like as you said कि अगर उसका कोई प्रोफेशन है तो उसको गे डॉक्टर बोलना या इवन स्ट्रेट डॉक्टर बोलना, मतलब इंक्लूड करना जरूरी हो गया. डू यू थिंक इट्स अ रीजन, द repressing it?
I'll tell you, the repression and resistance come where there is lots of subjugation, lots of marginalization. If you are being marginalized, say you like to talk to me at this podcast, but your brother or some sibling comes and says, no, you can't do this, move away, you go and study, you can't do this. Obviously, you will start resisting. The resilience will come. तब बोले ना स्कूल में पढ़ के बिगड़ गया, ये कौन सा दोस्त आ गया, आयुष आने से संकेत बिगड़ गया, या आयुष बिगड़ गया संकेत.
ये तो सच है, ये तो सच है.
So that kind of formulation always happens. You try to attach things, and you can't blame a single person just single-handedly. You blame the situation, you blame other people attached to it. Now what happens is, like, coming out also has a bad repercussion. Let me tell you why is it bad. Like, whoever friend used to come to me, if the person had a one-to-one talk in my room, personal room, those days I'm talking about, graduation days, my brother used to think, कहीं उसके साथ कुछ हो तो नहीं रहा था तुझे?
I mean,
वो लड़का भी ऐसा है, अच्छा वो लड़का भी ऐसा है. This is how you start labeling.
Right.
Believe me, I don't label people. I don't label people. That's why when you asked about my identity, I said about my professional identity, and you introduced me as a professional identity.
Yeah.
I didn't introduce me as a person. If you have introduced me as a person, he is this guy. He has worked for the community for a longer time. My introduction would have brought a different kind of identity. But over here, what I feel, the labeling is all up to yourself. Whether I label myself as gay or trans or lesbian or whosoever, aromantic, bi-curious, there are hundreds of amples of adjectives attached which you can put on yourself. Labeling, I somehow feel labeling limits your identity. It literally limits your identity. Now, suppose I say Sanket is a BJP. Right? If he might believe in Hinduism, he might believe in staunch Hinduism, he might
it's narrowing it down.
Right.
Now, if I say he is BJP, automatically people will start believing, oh, Sanket doesn't like Muslims, so he will be against this Falana friend or some friend. So this is how you label people, and things start falling into pieces. It's like a jigsaw puzzle which people all try. All of them will try to solve it. You yourself don't know that it's a jigsaw puzzle, but all of them will try to solve it. Like, अच्छा संकेत ने ये बोल दिया, अच्छा संकेत और आयुष ने मिलके आज LGBT शो किया, जरूर कुछ गड़बड़ है. There must be something wrong between them. Why they are doing this? These are certain kinds of repercussions that you are not aware of. You must be thinking that, oh, LGBT month hai, Pride month hai, let's do it. It is fun. But that fun is not taken in that spirit the way you are doing. That's our social cultural norms.
This is the Indian mindset, I feel, and I've discussed in the previous podcast also, that just putting things in boxes for our own understanding.
I think we talked about this in the cult wala part, right?
Just putting things in boxes that, in a podcast we've talked about it, if somebody is bad, we don't give them a chance to improve. Okay, we have put them in that box, or they're put in that box for our own understanding. So I think that is it. Lastly, I think this has been a wonderful conversation. Just to end, because it's a Pride Month, so I would ask you about the importance of Pride Month for you personally, and if you have attended any Pride marches yourself, and
they're fascinating.
Some experiences from that. So it would be nice to know.
As Ayush already told, the first Pride that was held in India was by the Council Club in Kolkata back in 1999.
15 members, if I'm not mistaken.
15 members were there. That was back in, like, when we were young. Of course, we were young-blooded. I could not attend. Of course, I knew about it. I could not attend that Pride. There were certain reasons behind it. The personal reason, let me tell you, my boyfriend had expired in a bomb blast that year. So I was devastated.
Sorry.
Just 7 days before that, 21st June, he died. So I was not in a condition to ever go. I had a train ticket to go to the Pride and everything, but I didn't go. I was so devastated. I left the country. I went to Canada, trying to reconcile, trying to rejuvenate, trying to bring back myself into life, which took time. Of course, it takes time when you lose your partner in life. So that's why I could not attend. But yes, the first Pride, when I went to Canada, I was forced and dragged by a few of my colleagues to the Pride of Toronto. I attended that was my first Pride, which I attended in Millennium Century, 2000. After that, I came back to India. There were no prides. There were no prides after that. I didn't go to Kolkata, and I forgot touch. I lost my touch because 2 years back in Canada almost left me alone, marooned myself from everyone. So I did not keep touch. When I came back, I started getting in touch with people. So I did attend Pride because bringing your career into path was also very important during that time. So I had to get a job, I had to complete my PhD. Everything was there on because I had to lead my life. I cannot keep on lamenting about the loss of my partner or my beloved. I cannot keep on doing that. Bar bar rona gana ye sab chalta rahega, so people will also stop meeting. Are usse milke kya hoga, din raat rota rehta hai. So that's how things are. So I did not attend that, but 2008, the first Pride that happened was a very 25 friends of us were there. Anjali was there. I still remember Anjali was there. Shivananda Khan was there. Aditya Bandyopadhyay was there. There were a few other Lok was there. Some other friends were there. We all marched. Still Jantar Mantar we marched, and there were hardly 25 of us, maximum 25. I still recall everyone's face during that time. Arif was there and all of us. So we marched, and then that was how it ended. It didn't come out to the newspaper, no flashlights and all. But 2009 was such a fascinating Pride. Imagine 25 people, it moved to 2,000 people that year. That year was the rights of we all had rights in our hands.
Right.
We were decriminalized. We were it was sultry weather. I still recall. I probably a few days back I shared it on my Insta also, the story that was the first Pride which came into the newspaper, Delhi Times, and it was everywhere. Everywhere photographs were there. My photograph also featured. It was fun. It was fun to see so many celebrities coming with us, and being myself from the community, and obviously affects you a lot when you see a celebrity walking with you. You see Rohit Bal walking with you, Arjun Rampal, Milind Soman, all these big shots walking with you, and you feel happy that they are also behind us.
They're supporting you, right?
That's supporting us. So that's how things are. That's how things move, and that's how the Pride started. And after that, I attended many Prides, all the Prides of Delhi, except 2 Prides which I left in 2013 and 2015 because of personal reasons. My brother passed away in 2013 and 15. My father passed away, so I could not attend those 2 years. But all the Prides I've attended few Prides in Bombay, few Prides in Kolkata, first Pride in Lucknow, first Pride in Jaipur, first Pride in Chandigarh. I've attended most of the Prides, first Prides everywhere. But the fact is, attending Pride is not a Pride Month celebration. Let me tell you frankly. Pride Month celebration is for recognition. For recognition by the normative and thinking us to be normal, quote unquote normal, whatever it is. Normal means what? So that is what is Pride Month about. And I somehow feel these are tokenism when you see Dunzo app or the Uber app or the Zomato app putting a flag or a rainbow line or whatever it is. That's just a tokenism. How many of them have transgender employees, or how many are their policies open to?
Yeah, that is a really important thing that you have highlighted.
That is why I think that Pride Month celebration is of course good. Of course it has to happen. Of course it has to be done. But apart from that Pride Month celebration, I think that the whole issue that is important during Pride Month has to be carried forward.
Right.
Especially by people who are like you, have to be carried forward. How many people understood after 6 months, take 6 months a gap. In December again, you try to look back and see how many of your viewers understood what exactly is Pride Month and why is Pride Month important. And why is, see, we don't want labels. Yeah, some people might want labeling, like, no, I am gay. Call me gay.
I mean, that's their personal choice, right?
Yeah, that's their personal choice. But I would say as a community, we do not like labeling us. When it comes to the mainstreaming, let's mainstream us everywhere. We don't like labeling. So we also want our rights. We want, as a citizen of this country, we want our marriage, we want our surrogacy, we want our adoption, everything we want. But those are demands that has been kept forward, that has to be taken forward by you people. Like, I don't know whether the podcast hearers are listening to it, what are they thinking about it. You people are the people who have to take it forward. Our part was to bring the decriminalization to the light for you people so that you can breathe free. All the people who are from the community or support the community. I think for them, it is very important that we need them to be breathe free. Of course, 2018 has brought that judgment and a verdict, and it changed the whole life of the LGBT people. Today, they can breathe free, they can move around. But as I began somewhere, I told Sanket, I don't think that homophobia or transphobia or biphobia has gone away. It can never go away. Let me tell you, Ayush and both of you, that, sometimes homophobia, these all phobias are within ourselves. Suppose I am closet.
Sorry?
And someone came to know about, I am closet. Suppose, take an example. I am closet. So take, for example, I'm not out, I'm closet. So what happens then is, like, I will also crack jokes about the gay people. I will also laugh on the transgender. So I myself becoming a homophobic or transphobic or biphobic, whatever phobic you can say, for this community. Being a part of the community, when I move the social dating apps, it's not a problem. But when it comes to recognition or acceptance, then it comes to a problem. That's where the problem is. That's why problematizing the whole community is not the solution. But what is important is that tokenism has to be stopped. Please stop this tokenism. I don't like these companies coming forward and in this consuming month trying to say that, oh, we are giving these books out, these films are free, watch this, watch that, or do this, do that.
Most of the time, they're a marketing gimmick.
Marketing, that is just a consuming technique. Those are marketing strategies. But I feel that if their policies change, if their policies are inclusive, of all sexual minorities, then the journey has brought some kind of
significant change, right?
True.
I mean, to end this, I'd just like to say, sometimes people, this is for people who are in the closet, right, and people around them. Your support can really help them. Trust me. I mean, I've been around people who are in the closet, right, and when I supported them, that really helped them mentally, right? So this is really important to support people around you, who you love, your friends, right? Like, help them, just help them and accept them. They're not different people. They're one of you. So Ayush sir, if you want to end with a note or something, anything.
I'll just say thank you, sir. It is really been an enriching experience. Your way of speaking, it's like I honestly don't feel I'm speaking to a professor right now. So it has been amazing, and especially the historical part. Like, I also already have a lot of things to go and Google right now. So thank you very much for spending this time with us, and I hope we can also have you for future podcasts. And I hope you also enjoyed it.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you, both of you.